They're talking. Cynthia has something that she put together. Well, Cynthia has slides, right? Are we ready with the slides?
Who's going first? That's all.
Cynthia.
Cynthia? Okay. Sorry.
One of the things that we learned from Seymour is if there are rules, you shouldn't really follow them. And originally what we were asked to do is do a presentation, have a panel, where what we would be doing is talking individually about how Seymour influenced us. And what Cynthia was going to do is she wanted to do 20 things to do with the computer thanks to Seymour. Now, a bit of background for that. Seymour and Cynthia wrote a collection of papers back really in late 60s, early 70s.
I think you should hold the microphone
Yeah,
up.
which I guess is 40-some years ago now, if arithmetic is right. And one of the papers that all of us kept talking about and used as kind of like an organizing things for things that we did since then was a paper called 20 Things to Do with a Computer. And what happened was this paper, 20 Things to Do with a Computer, you got to put yourself back in 1970. A lot of the stuff then seemed like science fiction. If you read the paper now, we're not going to go through the paper exactly now. They seem like they're old hat and almost obsolete. But what Seymour wrote about them was so forward-looking at the time, nobody really believed that it was going to be possible.
Well, I have to make a comment. Hold the microphone up. Is this better? I just have to make a small comment. This paper was based on, Seymour 19 taught a group of 5th graders in a school in Lexington. And this paper was based on things we did with the kids and things we wanted to do with the kids. And one of the projects in that paper wasn't done until a graduate student, one of Seymour's last graduate students, did it with kids, and that was balancing a beam, a stick. And so I just wanted to say that it may look like science fiction, but it took a long time.
It took a long time. And a lot of the visionary stuff then did turn out to be true. And for the purists in this, who like making lists and like making lists of the same, these things are a little bit all over the map, and there's not really much rhyme or reason to them. But let's really get going, since we promised Gary to only use up his time once rather than twice. So, next slide, please. So one of the things is, Seymour suggested that we create a programming language for children. And Seymour actually guided the development of the first programming language for children called Logo. A lot of us since then have made other programming languages for children. You'll hear about the most recent, a more recent, quite good one done by Resnic later in the evening. But the whole notion that there could be programming languages for children was something that Seymour really did introduce in these papers that he wrote with Cynthia. Okay, do you want to read it?
Create constructionist activities. Make sense by making things.
So Seymour studied with Piaget, and Piaget was, a lot of educators got from Piaget that kids understand by making sense of the world by themselves. Seymour added to that, the good way to make sense is to make stuff. And he gave the name of the idea of making sense by making stuff Constructionism. So a lot of the activities that we've all been working on, and a lot of what Seymour inspired us to do, is various kinds of construction kits that hopefully, while you're making things, you'll be learning things as well.
Make playful learning environments with turtles and robots.
And in fact, somewhere in the audience,
You can't see this. I'm just going to say, these were early turtles. This was our first turtle. It was a yellow canister. And this was, according to John Rowe there, who made the first plastic turtle. This is the second one.
The first one, the big yellow one, I just learned like 3 weeks ago, was originally black. The thing that I knew about it is if you kicked it over, it let battery acid all over the floor, which was why they moved to plastic soon after that.
Explore turtle geometry as a first visit to Mathland.
Seymour was fond of saying that if you want to learn French, don't go to French classes every week, just move to Paris and it gets really easy. So what he felt that we should be doing is making a place where you could visit, that he called Mathland, and you would be able to learn math the way kids naturally pick up languages and move into foreign countries.
Program animated graphics.
Click the button. Yeah. This is kind of self-explanatory. Kids, we've been making kids for kids program animated graphics for a while now, and hear more from Mitchell later in the evening.
Interact with multiple turtles.
We had so much fun with the turtles. People eventually said if it's good with one, why not do it with many? So some of the later environments that we did didn't just have one, but had lots of turtles.
Well, the first sprite set was TI,
Right.
Texas Instruments logo, and there were 28 turtles. Emphasize debugging as a powerful tool.
This is actually a big one, which may be why it's the word emphasized. One of the things that, if you're learning by making, things never really work. And the thing about it is a lot of learning is learning how to deal with things, taking something that isn't quite what you want and turning it into something that is quite what you want.
Recognize that text is not the only interface with the computer.
Cynthia put this on, and we were fussing with this because this isn't the category that seems so obvious. Why do you even say it? Back when Seymour originally was working on non-text interfaces for the computer, people actually didn't see buttons, touches, gestures, and everything like that.
Create microworlds, new kinds of places for children to explore.
In addition to Mathland, Seymour had envisioned a whole bunch of other lands for exploring all sorts of different pieces of the intellectual landscape. And in Mindstorms and even before, he was hoping that we would create a large series of microworlds that go in many different directions.
Make robots and turtles with sensors.
This is a photo of the Mindstorms kit, which the Lego company produced and then named it after Seymour's seminal book.
Make computer-controlled sandboxes, puppets, bridges.
This is another one we argued about because it seemed like, well, we put cars off the list to...
Influence AI in education.
Seymour got started in all of this by being pulled to MIT by Mark and Minsky, and their original work together was in the field of artificial intelligence. It was sort of Seymour's unique background was going from mathematics to working with Piaget to working with Minsky that provided the appropriate intellectual background to then go and start doing the rest of the things that we're talking about. By the way, that's Mark and Minsky. You don't recognize it.
Promote a computer for every child.
It's hard to imagine that there was a time where we were trying to say it would be important for every kid to have a computer. It seems like now every kid has a computer, which is a good jumping off point for us to try to play out the rest of the vision.
Seymour loved saying, computer is pencil. Help build the Media Lab, a math land for big kids.
As was said in the introduction, Seymour did help kick off a number of organizations. One of the organizations was the MIT Media Lab, and as was said in the introduction, it's a math land for big kids where all sorts of interesting ideas and technologies have been coming out constantly.
Reach children in developing countries.
Which I guess is part of what Small Solutions is trying to do in this, and the XO and OLPC was a step along that road, though there, I guess, is still a whole lot more work to be done.
Well, Seymour was part of the One Laptop Per Child movement too. Give children both physical and mental objects to think with.
Not only did Seymour believe in making sense by making stuff, he also believed in making sense by having good ways of talking about things.
Invoke anthropomorphic thinking.
Kids, to the extent possible, we should be doing things that resonate with kids' culture the way that it is, and be talking about things in terms of metaphors that are immediately familiar.
Well, we used to ask kids to play turtle and to act out their procedures in logo. Use the little person model to explain recursion.
Recursion is a really interesting, hard to get mathematical concept that we've been trying a lot of different ways of describing this. And the little person model was something that Seymour and Cynthia pulled together in, you could pick a year, to try and say that by in fact invoking anthropomorphic thinking.
We used it in 68, 69. Inspire us to create new things through papers and books. And list 3 papers. 20 things to do with the computer, teaching children thinking, teaching children to be mathematicians versus teaching mathematics. And of course his book, Mindstorms, Children, Computers, and Powerful Ideas.
And
Next.
last. For some reason, whenever we've done one of these 20 things list, last is the recursion line. Think of 20 more things to do. And the photo that, if you go to Cynthia's Logo Things site and look for a video of Seymour on a bongo board, I guess you've probably never seen anything quite like that. So this actually is giving Gary enough time to say what he wanted to say. So thank you. Do you have any